And welcome back once again to the PCS Spring Split 2022 into Week 6. We are 2 games in now, and it gets even tighter in that playoff race. Before we get into that, though, I do want to thank our wonderful sponsors, CTBC Bank and Caliber. Thank you for making the PCS possible. Now, Clement, this next match, about as much of a favorite to be played here with Deep Cross Gaming taking on FAK Esports. However, with the last result, CFO affirming their status, it gets a little bit tight for the team at the top and opens a window of opportunity for the team just underneath.
It definitely does. Looking holistically at what these two teams are playing for coming into this Week 6, for Deep Cross Gaming, they have only dropped games to PSG. They want to cement themselves as the de facto top 2 team, get that second seed, make sure they don't have to play PSG early, at least make it into the winter finals. The winter finals. And on the other side for FAK Esports, they are facing a much different situation because so far they haven't been able to take down a single top 5 team. If you're FAK Gaming and you want your fans to have some enthusiasm for you, you have to show that at least you have dark horse potential. So this is what these two teams are playing for coming into this one. They're both, I would say Deep Cross Gaming not only have had better results, they also have shown more flair in terms of their champion pool selection. And that's what I'm watching FAK Esports to step up on. Sure, you might not have... You might not surprise us in terms of the results, but could you at least surprise us in the last weeks in terms of some champion picks, really throw some doubt into your enemy team when it comes to playoffs?
Yeah, and I think this is a team that has started to understand its strengths, and they're in the mid and the bot side, right? Pretender and M&M have been the ones stepping up most consistently. The issue is it feels like a number of these games, they just have issues throwing it away in the end, and I don't know where to lay that blame, right? Because they certainly have a number of underperforming players. I think Holo has not had the best split in this particular jungle meta. I think Kurt has definitely been one of the weaker top sides here, and the stats bear that out as well. And K2 has been a little bit middling, but we have seen a lot of strength from the mid and the bot. Hopefully that's enough to carry them through, but against Deep Cross, it is going to be difficult with Leaky in the top side, Hana in the jungle, Nesty on mid, and of course, rookie sensation Chris Scotta paired up with Woody in the bot lane.
I just feel like these two teams have such a crossing of fates because at the start of the season, what we were looking at these two teams was, okay, FAK have their carries on board. If their utility members just step up, they should be fine. And for Deep Cross Gaming, it was the complete opposite. It's like, oh, Hana and Nesty. Well, those are your utility players. They need carries. And usually it actually goes the way of the carries. Usually the carries are the easier team to build around. But it hasn't been the case for FAK, unfortunately, and Deep Cross Gaming has found their carries to shine very brightly in both Leaky and Kriskata. Leaky still statistically our best top laner in the entire league. I don't think anyone expected Leaky to showcase this sort of performance. Kriskata, in the meantime, still very strong with his 80 carries. But the mid lane is where we will be taking a look at. Nesty.
Okay. These stats lie a little bit because, I mean, Nesty doesn't need to do damage. But other than that, like, it looks so weird. It makes him look really bad, but I feel like it does Nesty dirty. I just wanted to throw that out there. Please, go ahead.
Nesty is the utility player. This is what we've been talking about. He plays really weird things like the Bard and the Ivern that we saw in the last week. So the way you should judge Nesty, I think, is very different from other mid lane players. He's not really a carry player in terms of dishing out damage. He's much more of a facilitator, and he usually roams around the map with Hana as a two-man squad. He also has way too much of a champion pool to fully ban out, so I don't think many players will throw bans at him whatsoever. However, he does, I think, present an interesting weakness to FAK Esports. When we have seen DCG just completely shut down, again, it has kind of just been Nesty being put behind, especially in the PSG games when he was playing Twisted Fate. Bay just counterpicked him with the Sylas. his Twisted Fate didn't even ult until like 20 minutes into the game. So he can be taken advantage of if you counterpick against him.
Yeah, get him onto a champion that you know you can neutralize at the very least. But there has been a little bit of focus on some of those more esoteric champion picks that have shown up big for these respective teams. Pretender draws a Vex ban, and I think he might be one of the few that's earned it.
I definitely agree. I feel like his Vex is, I would say, the best Vex that we've seen so far, but unfortunately for Frank Esports, their only wins have actually came on the more standard champions, like the Orianna, which he currently has not died on yet. So just to throw that out
there.
That
was despite the Vex, too. I mean, Pretender, he's had some style plays, but okay, DCG playing around a little bit after that Ahri first pick. We do see the Jinx lock-in for Cascada. It has been his most played, as a number of AD carries, but they definitely flashed that Kai'Sa for a second. I would almost be surprised to see Nesty play the Kai'Sa mid. As we said, he's the utility player, but they get the good old Hecarim to pair up with it. It's another comfortable champion for Hana. So far, so good on the DCG draft. Frank Esports already locking in their mid very early in this one. Let's see what they add to it. Zyra also available.
Yeah, I feel like Frank Esports are at a crossroads. They need to decide if their identity is playing around Pretender, or are they going to just full in and commit to MNM? Because those play styles are very divergent from each other. In terms of what has been successful, Frank Esports, in terms of their W's, have came from the MNM strategy, where they play more supportive, coming from the mid lane, try to play front to back, control, and utility coming in from Kurt. But from the eye test, what seems to be stronger is actually Pretender playing more lane dominant champions, and for Kurt to play something that isn't Gnar. But
yeah, I don't like this. Blind Gnar is bad at the best of times. If your name isn't Hanabi, just don't do it. But I mean, I think the signals at Frank are they're afraid of Kurt getting stomped by Leaky, and I think rightly so. And that's a Rumble pick. Oh boy, fire up the grill, Clement. I think we're in for some barbecue.
Yeah, that's a really interesting one. We have seen some Rumbles go into the top lane. Personally, I actually still like Rumble mid a little bit more.
Could be. It is Nesty.
It definitely could be. You know, as a Rumble mid, you have more lanes that you can pressure. You could just push wave and leave lane, head for bot side, and barbecue some people, get down a kill. It's also very strong with decimating smash, as you can kind of control where the enemy is going and keep them on the equalizer for a little bit longer. But we'll find out later in the draft. For Frank, they're already giving up on the top side. Blind pick Gnar means, you know, basically no ability to control that side. What they should be thinking about is a strong jungler. No jungler has been banned just yet, and there are very strong options like Xin Zhao and Rek'Sai still on the table, where we have seen Beyond Gaming just go for that combo. Very easy to chain knock up into Charm with the Rek'Sai there. So I would expect that to be kind of the main two picks, as DCG target the bottom lane first. Huh.
Yeah. Ooh. Okay. The Renata ban I think actually makes sense against Deep Cross, especially when you have a team that can go a little bit deep like this. Woody's kind of been one of the only supports that's really made it work super effectively. But whoa, that's a little bit of a switch up, as we have. Oh man, I honestly was not expecting this today, but it was flashed, it was hovered, but the Seraphine comes in.
We've been waiting for this the entire split. From the
snoozing, man.
Yeah, from week one, we've actually seen the Seraphine being flashed, and I just want to mention that the Seraphine roam has been actually quite strong. If you fully stack up her passive, she can give you an instant root. So there is some potential that it could be played in a roaming fashion. I still think this is likely just a support and for a wombo combo-ish Seraphine, but we could see where this one goes, as we do have more engage being provided by Frank Esports. A very strong roam squad coming out for Frank, and it does seem like they have decided to go with the Pretender route. This is playing more towards his strength, lockdown into charm kills, more skirmish oriented, and not so much for the 5v5.
Yeah, a little risky too. You do need to get him ahead, but that is something Pretender has been able to do. Nesty not as known for those more dominant playstyles, and that's an Alistar lock-in, so we are going to get this. This is a mid lane Seraphine for the roams. Oh, Nesty, what can't you do?
Oh boy, this is gonna be so fun here. I'll be honest, I haven't seen a lot of the Seraphine mid, but definitely is an interesting pick. Just with the wombo combos here, you're definitely looking at something like Encore, Equalizer, Onslaught of Shadows. There are so many ways to chain these abilities together that I feel like Frank are forced to play in these small numbers 3v3 skirmishes. They have no chance taking a 5v5. They're just gonna get completely destroyed. So the windows of which Frank can navigate, I think, are fairly narrow, and they're not usually compositions we associate them playing.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really tough test for Frank. You know, even with just looking at the nameplates before the draft, that was obviously going to be the case. But I think for this squad, it's kind of on them to prove that they can execute at this level. Remember, this is the team that came together at the last minute to form a squad into the PCS. They really didn't have a lot of time to practice on stage. We saw them building their synergy up week over week and improving. This is kind of like the final boss of team comps for them, though. If they can execute this, if they can beat DCG, it would be quite an eye-opener here, Clement. And Deep Cross, on their part, you know, they're right back to the shenanigans. They're showing some interesting stuff, adding a little bit of flavor to this mix. And, well, let's just say that's a bit of a spicy hot pot we got going in that 5v5.
Definitely is. I would say the polite way is the spicy hot pot. I like to call it the pyre, which is feels a lot more painful to me.
Ooh, just a little bit. I mean, well, to be fair, you spend enough time at Heidi Lau, it's going to feel the same way. No, I kid. I love it. Anyways, it's an interesting composition. I love the Deep Cross are always keeping us guessing. I feel like that's the type of thing that will carry you in the 5v5s. But we'll have to see. I am actually taking a look at what we've seen this season out of Seraphine. And I got to be honest with you, Clement, it's not a lot. In the top leagues, it's like 2 games, and neither of them are mid. So this might be a world first here on season 12. I'm just saying it, and it would be Nesty.
Yeah, we did see it a little bit when she first came out, but after a lot of her AP ratios nerfed, we didn't get that much of a Seraphine flavor. We know that she's very strong in siege situations. She can basically clear the entire wave, and you can actually chain her Encore up with your allies. If it goes past a target, it actually extends the range even further. So we could see that being used with Onslaught of Shadows quite well. I expect if DCG ever group up as 5, they're just going to drop their ults and dunk on the opposition. So Frank can never allow DCG to group up. I feel like the big thing for Frank, the most critical point for Frank this game is K2's initiative. Can he actually find those solo ganks in lane and in the enemy jungle? He does have the Xayah versus Jinx matchup, which when we have seen this matchup, it does favor the Xayah a little bit because of the serrated Dirk build earlier. So there are some windows for K2 to start and roam, but he has to make use of that. And I'll be honest, I feel like that has not really been K2's strength. He's been much more of a team fight oriented, kind of stay around and protect Eminem type of support. So this is going to be a huge test. If Frank want to win, they have to win through K2.
Yeah. Now, for Eminem's side, I do worry a little less for him because he has a slightly favored matchup and the experience, despite Kriskata being, you know, strong, if not the contender for Rookie of the Split so far. I do think Eminem is one of those AD carries that shouldn't have as much trouble trying to hold his own here as Kurt nearly stepped a little too dangerously far forward, but does not end up face-checking into the brush as we get underway. The minor shenanigans from Deep Cross, but it will be all about this mid lane to watch early on and seeing what Nesty can do. He might be out of the mid lane pretty quickly, but a couple of pop stars facing off against one another. I'm sure the lights will be shining soon enough.
Yeah, we have seen the Seraphine kind of roam around in solo queue as a smite top laner, but obviously after the objective goals have been patched, we might not be seeing that as much. Taking a look at the matchup, Kurt just getting a lot of free damage put on him. This matchup is pretty hard for Gnar to play early on. You just get pushed in nonstop by the Rumble.
He has Ignite too.
Yeah, it's a very dangerous level 6 combo. But I will say that we have seen top lane Rumbles just completely get destroyed as well. He's a champion that does not escape very well. So you can easily just dunk on him with the Jarvan, and that's why most of the times I still prefer Rumble in the mid lane. In fact, if you think about most recently Rumble mid lane players. I would say Doiby is probably one of the most prolific ones, or Scout, and they're mid laners. In mid lane, when you have a shorter lane, it's a lot easier to survive with that pick. So we'll see if Holo might try to exploit that.
There are openings for Frank to try and make a splash in this early game, and they do want to try and snowball. I think Pretender also could go on a lot of roams himself, right? I mean, once Ahri hits 6, you do have that opportunity opened up to you a little more, and we'll have to see. Ward coverage not super deep as Hana starts off on his red buff, and would expect the Pony to show a little bit later than the Jarvan. It's always possible that Holo goes in early, but, Holo, I think even in the Boom Esports days, we didn't really see as many early engages. He was, when he was sharing a little bit of time on the Rift, he was much more of that team fight tank engage champion, not the ganker. So I hope he can, you talked about K2 getting involved and roaming around the map. I kind of hope Holo can do the same.
For sure, but, I just wanted to point out that, junglers are always expected to kind of roam around, but supports, for them, it's a little bit more situational. And that's why I put more of the onus on K2 this game.
That's true.
To really try and show up here. In the meantime, we do have a pretty standard start. I feel like this favors DCG a little bit more because their bot lane really isn't falling behind at this juncture just yet. And because the cover from Hana, Leaky just gets to free bully Kurt to his heart's desire. They know at this point that Holo is on the bottom side of the map. There is no real danger here for the Rumble pushing in. And if Kurt falls low enough, it could just be a decimating charge into kill here. He needs to preserve HP right now. He cannot walk up to this wave. Electro Harpoon, just one more rotation, and he is in danger of just getting killed.
Kurt's job is definitely staying safe right now, and the moment he sees Leaky turn to walk up, he's got to be a bit careful. Keep an eye on the other lanes as well. It continues to trade pretty evenly here, and I think for Frank's bottom lane, they'll be pretty happy with that. Meanwhile, in the mid, Pretender does get rooted up, and Hana actually moves in, but a quick charm from the Frank mid laner stops that engage. Nicely done.
And this is the Hana special. When Hana goes to Nesty's lane, it's not actually called taxing. It's called freeing up. He allows Nesty to roam across the map with him. He rides on the magical pony, and they find kills together, like a roaming hit squad.
He goes down the bot. Ooh, nice hook though. Woody threads the needle, or excuse me, K2 threads the needle onto Kriskata, and he's going down for first blood. Hana caught in the midst, and he's trying to run away, but flashing forward, the double kill for Eminem, and Frank could not have hoped for a better counter engage.
I did not expect anything to happen right there. Oh, and he gets another one.
They're not done. Oh, Woody's gonna walk it out, but wow, what a turn.
We were asking for K2 to show up, and he showed up huge in that play right there. It was a 3v3 with the wave pushing in. I did not expect that hook to be able to catch onto Kriskata. Woody was doing his due diligence, but it was played even better by K2. You do get a bigger hitbox on the end of the hook. A lot of experienced Nautilus players will attest to that, and they can basically bend bullets around character models right there. Beautiful play from K2, right in front of the eyes of Hana. They even knew Hana was going bot lane. Like, there was nowhere else Hana was going to be, and they were still willing to pull the trigger on that. Just great stuff.
Yeah, match pressure really well, and wow. Frank Esports, we talk about how they were going to be playing around Pretender, but they certainly were able to play well around Eminem. Experienced bot laner, beating out Kriskata in that play. Of course, Kriskata already set a little far behind in the beginning, and critically, even Eminem picking up both of those kills on that one allows him to buy the serrated Dirk pretty early in this game, and he's going to be a pretty big threat. That does free up the chance for K2 to roam about a bit. Just goes and gets a ward down, I believe. And we'll have to see what he's able to do, but a good start.
Yeah, really nicely done from K2, and at this point in the 2v2, there realistically should be no way that Kriskata and Woody can ever win this anymore. So I really like the pathing here from K2. He wards up the jungle first. They get the tempo to push this one in. They don't have to back just quite yet. And, this is just such a comfortable position to be for their bot lane. They can decide to push it out whenever they want to. And you have to remember, DCG Kriskata doesn't have any of his summoners. So level 6 into Cataclysm, that's just an insta-kill. There's just no difficulty in that whatsoever. This is just an amazing position, and I really want to commend K2. I kind of had a lot of doubts in him. He's proving me wrong.
There's going to be the engage right there coming in, but the charm does
Nessie
land.
does come
Holo
in first.
gets taken down, and DCG, they kind of closed the bait around the trap themselves.
Yeah, critically there, what we saw was Nesty was able to get to the scene a lot earlier than Pretender was able to. So they closed the trap first and get the kill onto Holo before anyone on Frank Esports unfortunately can react. K2 was in position, but they didn't have vision in the blue brush, and then they just didn't see Nesty, so they were actually just caught off guard.
Oh yeah, seriously, it seemed like the setup was going to look so great for them, but a nice turnaround there at the end of the day. And all right, setting things back into this. It's a slim gold lead for Frank Esports. 7.5 minutes. But pushing their luck a little bit too deep on that one. Speaking of push, you see a pretty big one going down bottom. M&M and K2 are just giving Criscata a hard time, still trying to take advantage of the window of opportunity they have. I wouldn't be surprised if Holo comes down there before level 6.
Yeah, you really want to get there. Ooh.
Oh, they find Woody. Oh, looking to lead him here. That's going to be the Featherstorm, but Criscata untouched in this. Got to be a bit careful. Doesn't have 6 yet. And here comes the dive, Clement. Criscata knows it's coming. Holo waiting, can't quite get the opener, and he'll walk it out. But this should be a few plates.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful stuff coming in from Frank Esports. Again, you see how Jarvan plays this one really nicely. I love it when junglers just show up the lane and preemptively push the wave for their mid laners. It makes so much sense. You can just free your mid laners. That a little bit of CS doesn't really matter. You make sure you get ahead on the roams. They get another good kill here, another plate, and also start out on the objectives right now. So I think for DCG, they can't really play around this bot lane anymore. The difference is already there. 3 kills down. The Jinx has to just find an open lane to farm at this point. So what DCG should try to do is, in my estimation, they should try to crack up top lane, bounce the wave, and get Criscata on the lane to farm it. So at the end of the day, a lot of these champions, both the Rumble and the Seraphine, they do have a bit of an expiration date. They're not your kind of true carries. You still need Jinx to deal most of the damage here. So you still need an open lane for her to farm, and I think most likely DCG will be looking for probably just kill on top lane, get the tower, swap.
Yeah, really good though, Frank, to focus on getting that one behind, and the dives have been well executed. The counter engages have been great. Definitely big ups to K2 and Holo for stepping up this game so far. Got to remember what these teams are fighting for, right? They may both be locked into playoffs, but DCG, they're hoping to stiff-arm the competition away from that second-place seed and a bye in the first round of playoffs. But with J-Team a game behind and CFO starting to creep up with a win already, that's not going to be so easy. And for Frank Esports, they're trying to get themselves a 6th seed, which would dodge the losers bracket in round 1. So far, making a strong play for it here off the back of a fed Xayah. M&M really showing experience, trumping early game talent from Criscata this game. Not all his fault, of course, but really, really good coordination on the Frank Esports side. Not something we see every game.
And I honestly feel like Frank Esports can all in on this bottom lane so easily. If you look at the top side, Leaky is not running teleport. So there is no defensive help coming in as long as you shove the Seraphine in and you keep good tabs of her. I really wonder when DCG are going to pull the trigger on the top side. I feel like that's their only play, but right now they are very focused on trying to keep their bottom side just alive a little bit longer, which is interesting. I think the problem with this play overall, though, is it does give opportunities for Frank Esports to just roam their support. Like, there is no pressure on K2 right now. He can leave his lane whenever he wants to. DCG have to play just all the time, just considering that K2 is in that bottom lane. And what this will allow K2 to do is, if he has the spider senses, it could allow him to just head towards the top lane and counteract this gank that Hana is setting up.
All right. Kurt, let's see if his own spider senses are as good right now. Oscillating a little bit here. That should be the spot. There we go. Good ward coverage, and before it gets neutralized, Kurt knows what's going on. The game is given away, and Holo starts to move up towards that top. Meanwhile, K2 in the mid, they're not going to be able to get much of a push off as Nesty clears a good chunk of the way, but Pretender gets a few chip shots on the tower, and things stay nice and slow here, Clement. A 500 gold lead plus the Dragon. All of the kills on M&M.
And I do expect Nesty to go for the Luden still, because he is losing massively in terms of wave clear at this point. And also Seraphine's not a champion that can really venture out into the wave. So wave clear will be important. And here's the big push. This is completely expected from DCG. The only question really is what Frank Esports can get on the bottom side of the map in the meantime. Or they're actually going to try and defend. Huh?
Kurt's building a Narbar here. I mean, it's possible. Holo coming up. So I guess they peel Shelly off, and all right. Not so bad. No dive coming in.
I don't think they want to take the 2v2 necessarily.
But it's a 2v1! Taking advantage of the timing, forcing out Hana's ultimate in a trade for Holos.
Oh no, the TP.
And a teleport out of Nesty. Oh, it's so free.
Now the bot lane is truly on their own. I feel like Kriskana and Woody are probably the two champions on the map right now that are completely shivering. But we get a good trade here by Leaky.
Okay, alright. Turns on the afterburners there as Kurt's forced to walk away. Once this Narbar's spent, gotta be careful. It does look like Frank are going to use this pressure advantage to at least crack a plate in mid, but Nesty got back really fast here. Something worth noting, of course, is teleport timers he's not as worried about. He's running the unsealed spellbook this game.
I'm still waiting for that big play to happen. Another great thing about the swap for DCG is that Rumble can clear the wave a lot easier than Gnar can. In the 1v2, he just drops the equalizer, he'll farm it, and the cooldown is so short on that ultimate. You can basically use it, I believe, every 4 waves, or maybe even 3 waves. So it'd be very simple for them to kind of swap and just defend this. I'm a little bit surprised that they're not they're actually full committing for the second Drake. This is a wombo combo situation, but in my eyes, if I'm Frank Esports, I'm not venturing into this. I'm perfectly happy to just stay top lane.
I think this might be a little bit of anxiety here for Deep Cross. They might be feeling a little desperate as this starts.
It's a great
Woody
move,
waits
but
around the side.
Frank should not be going in.
That's the knock-in. Oh, Pretender. He could be caught out. Does manage to get relatively to safety, but no, the round 2, K2 fancies his chances, and a big Feather Storm comes in. Hana is the one isolated, rooted up, and he's going down as the Rocket gets revenge. Both junglers drop.
Wow, it seemed like such a good start from DCG, but they don't actually land any of the critical crowd control onto Pretender. They get the knockback, and that's it. Pretender's still able to dodge out and even get a couple members with the Everfrost right there, and then Eminem is able to close up on the trap. So DCG commits so much, and they get nothing for it. We'll watch this again. I was a little bit worried for Frank Esports. I felt like this was a fight that wasn't necessarily worth taking. Nearly turns out really poorly for them, but just look at this ultimate coverage. They don't actually find that wombo combo on the same target. In fact, I don't think they should have blown the equalizer. They need the equalizer for Eminem. Pretender's not going to kill your whole team, but Eminem will.
Yeah, I feel like it was a bit scuffed on that account. Frank, though, I mean, that whole thing, they probably could have seeded it. They probably could have walked away with it. At the end of the day, nobody ends up getting the dragon until just now, when in the aftermath, Holo was able to take it. So I guess you could call it in the long run a bit worth, even if it is a flip for Shelly. And I can't believe it. We've got 3 for 3 on the Hex Gates today.
Well, I'm always happy to cast Hex, Tech Drakes, and Infernal Drakes. I just love the Hex Gate mechanic. It's so fun. It creates so many opportunities for flanking angles. And
good skirmishes, too.
Yeah, there's a lot of times where you can tell that players are still not used to thinking about Hex Gates, and they just got caught off of guard. We saw that in our previous game with MFT, just getting kind of surprised when people showed up in their own jungle. So definitely a more entertaining Drake, in my opinion.
I absolutely agree. I think it adds a lot of fun and flavor. Not at all like the Drake that must not be named, of course. Doesn't exist anymore. Doesn't matter.
All right,
but all right, B for sure. As we get into this one, I think the thing that's impressed me about Frank is they have shown an understanding of what they need to do in the early game, and I want to see if they can take that forward here, because as you mentioned, there is a bit of an expiration date here for Leaky and Nesty's effectiveness, and a lot of it's going to be on Kriskana. There is still that pop-off chance for Jinx, but at the moment, you're kind of fishing for as much farm as possible, and M&M still can bully. There's a reason the Xayah has kind of come in vogue here. It is a Mythic versus Mythic at the very least, but the Manamune already completed 2, so there is a window to work with. There is a lot of possibility. We've also seen Kurt play a lot safer this game. I think that's an important thing. Kurt has had an underwhelming debut in PCS, but this game, I think he understands what he needs to do. It's okay to lose lane as long as you're still effective in the team fights, or rather the skirmishes.
Definitely is the case here, and they are grouping up for a big siege and just kind of a bot side trade, but there is a Herald here, so I don't think you can actually trade. I feel like FAK Esports are actually forced to respond to this one, though. Unfortunately, not a very good Herald drop, as it loses way too much tower HP. You ideally want to take the tower a little bit lower. They lost the Herald on the first one, and that just means that Ahri doesn't have to come back. Ahri's perfectly happy with that, so a little bit scuffed on DCG again. Yeah,
Pretender keeps getting free farm on this, for sure. This is actually a really good swing for Frank, as there was so much commitment to try and keep the push going or dive onto Kurt that just gets completely negated. It's just free damage on that top tier 2. So Frank, I mean, understanding what they can get away with a lot better, in DCG maybe showcasing some nerves here.
Oh yeah, this would be massive if they actually drop a game to someone not named PSG. It would be a huge shock to their reputation, I would say. And unfortunately, DCG in that trade, because they dropped the Herald a little bit too early, they lose it on the first tower, and they make a completely futile roam into the bottom side when they could have been pressuring mid lane a lot more. So you could see the ripple effects from that, the vision in the red jungle there from FAK Esports. Doesn't really do much. Frank are able to hold out, and the question here for DCG is a lot of times they're going to be losing farm. Seraphine doesn't really have a place to farm anymore. This is the problem of playing sort of nesty support-ive champions, is that you get caught on the side lane, you're just dead. So
yeah, Leaky needs to do more, but speaking of getting caught on the side lanes, gonna go ahead and burn that rocket belt. He is out to safety, that's fine, but Frank definitely taking advantage of a timing window and pushing them back and away. Yeah, I mean, not only would it be huge for Deep Cross's gaming reputation, not in a good way, if they lose this one, but playoff implications are pretty huge here. Nice combo from Pretender that's going to zone Leaky away. Yeah, if Deep Cross lose this, they're tied with J-Team for second place.
Oh. Yeah, that would be absolutely massive, and Woody gets caught here again, so DCG not able to brute force through the ramp right there means that FAK Esports get full vision control over the next Drake.
Yeah, this is massive right now. Drake stack building as well for FAK Esports. They already have the first 2 in the game. Hana clearly wants to find an angle. Of course, his team not in a position to respond. Kurt pulls off the side lane. 23 seconds. It's the zoning game for Frank here.
I want can they hold their nerve to put a couple feathers on that ramp. That's probably the most effective way of dissuading people from coming down there. We have one more wave, and we do have a flank by Hana. This could be huge.
Yeah, an Onslaught of Shadows makes a big difference. If they didn't spot this, and I don't think they did, still fishing for a pick here. Kurt's not in the picture at the moment. He actually does step back and away for just a sec. They are pinging. They know he's missing.
Kurt and his Mega Gnar bar are a little bit tragic here, so he's not going to have any Mega Gnar for this Drake. And DCG get river access.
Okay, Kurt, he flanks the flanker. Level advantage on Hana. Would he? Okay, he's going to be able to walk away, but that is the opener as they flee into the safety of their own jungle. Kurt on the Narbar. There's going to be a charm. Peeled away. Oh, this Dragon Dance is tense here, Clement. Kurt's trying to build it up as fast as he can. Getting isolated from his team, but getting very, very close to getting the pop, and Dragon resets. DCG 50-50 dancing around it as they try to keep this one going.
Really nice Seraphine poke coming out from Nesty. Holo also taking the dragon way too long. Here's the Wombo.
That's going to be K2. Indo's that big combo as the Onslaught of Shadows tries to secure it. Dragon does get smited by Hana, but M&M is running wild. Although Nesty manages to get 2 kills back, and all things considered, Deep Cross trade even, pick up the Drake, and if they can walk away with this one and maybe some more, oh, they're looking pretty good. Deep Cross Gaming get away with murder.
Whew, an incredibly close fight going down here, but Deep Cross Gaming, in the end, they do pick up the objective and trade blow for blow with the kills. I just feel like Frank misplayed their hand a little bit. I feel like they started the Drake a bit too early, took way too much damage from the Hextech Drake, and did allow DCG to kind of walk in and establish a zone of control. I also didn't see Meganar being used here from the side of Frank, so we'll see once again how he tries to maneuver this one, but it was a really nice job keeping away the targets with the equalizer. Let's see if Kurt gets his Meganar down. I didn't see it the first time around in the team fight. It was a good flash around, good ultimate.
He is stun locked for days.
Kurt doesn't get the ultimate down? Oh, wow.
No.
He actually just doesn't get it. Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering where it went.
He got CC'd for like most of that fight. That was actually really good on Deep Cross's side.
Yeah. He was in melee range and couldn't ult. That was actually very impressive.
Yeah. Feels bad, man. But yeah, really good fighting from Deep Cross. Gets them back a little bit on the board. They end the Drake stack, so slows this game down a little bit and buys them a bit of time. And also Nesty picks up 2 kills.
Yeah, and this is an interesting build coming in from him. A much more late game oriented build from the side of the Encore. So it really isn't one of those builds that I thought would sort of decrease in damage. I was thinking about Ludens maybe for the earlier wave clear, but he's really eyeing onto the late game portions of the match, knowing that the early game was probably lost already. And it kind of makes sense considering the flow of the game.
Yeah, Nesty as a player, I think, while he's very unorthodox in the champions he chooses, he certainly knows how to mix it up when he needs to, and I think you got to give credit to the man for that. He may not always be the most effective on everything, but he finds a way to make the most of the situation he's in, and that flexibility is something very important, serves Deep Cross Gaming well. For Frank Esports, disappointing to have lost out on that fight, or lost out on that Drake, I should say. Not for lack of trying, though, and there's still the threat of Eminem to be reckoned with. I mean, all things considered, he is able to complete the Muramana, and still has an item lead, a full item lead, I should say, over the Jinx. There is a window of opportunity to act here with the Sereldas as well. So I think Frank may be going back to the drawing board a little bit, but they do have a superior map control. Yep. Baron, of course, starts to become a pretty big objective, but of course there is the Dragon once again in about 2 minutes to be contended with, and I think it's a bit of a holding pattern till then.
Critically, I don't think Frank Esports actually got enough out of their superior lanes. If you think about the kills, they're only 2 up, and a lot of them didn't come onto Pretender. I think Ahri is the most critical piece in this composition, where you can't really take a straight-up 5v5. I think on open terrain, 5v5 is a disaster for Frank Esports against DCG. The Wombo combo is way too powerful, so they still need Ahri to be fed and to have kill threat on some of these side lanes. I think in that regard, Frank Esports do need to worry, and because the side lane pressure isn't there, Deep Cross Gaming are able to just sit mid with all of their combo pieces together, which is very dangerous.
Yeah, Frank want to try to pull that engage. It could end very poorly for them right now. Kurt might want to have his teleport button ready quickly. You see Leaky actually rotating back into mid. He's going to back away as this push ends. And yeah, Frank, they're unsure of how to proceed right now. Time is ticking as they look for this Dragon setup once again, but it didn't end so well for them last time. A little indecisiveness. They have a little bit more damage to play with as well, but unfortunately, this is one of the issues of the blue side, is you kind of expose yourself a bit more to the enemy team, depending on how you approach this Dragon.
If you're on the blue side, you definitely need to be in river and control that banana brush, as you see Holo is doing right here.
They'd love to break this mid lane, but it's just so well defended right now. Yep. 17 seconds, a bit early to set up, but Frank are here. Kurt needs to build his Narbar.
So what DCG should be doing is they should just be using Woody as a spearhead. He's not going to die walking down a ramp, and he could counter-engage quite easily as well. However, they all need to be on the same page, on the same side going in, and they also need to hold their combo pieces. They cannot drop everything at the same time, especially not on K2. They really need to have the pieces going towards Eminem.
Okay, Hana zooms around, doesn't find the opening. Dragon is live. It is getting aggroed. Keep an eye on Kurt's Narbar once again, although he wasn't able to use his ultimate last time. That could be the difference maker. It's going to be up to a smite fight, you'd have to think here. Some shields taken. Here it comes. Into the onslaught. That's going to be smited down by Frank Esports, and now the fight is on. A massive Gnar by Kurt, and that absolutely swings it. Frescata walks away, but holy moly, not for long. Dash into the charm, Orb of Deception, and a beautiful ace, cleanly by Frank.
Last team fight, I was questioning where did Kurt's ultimate go. There are no questions this time around. A beautiful 3-man slam into the Cataclysm. We'll watch this again and critically look at Eminem's positioning right here. He's actually staying on the left side of the fight. And what did I say beforehand? You need your combo pieces on Eminem. They cannot go on anywhere else. They went for K2, the support. Everyone else just opens up on the members of DCG, and they get a perfect ace, plus the Drake, plus the Baron in that fight. I just feel like DCG misplayed that so completely wrong. What they needed to do is that they needed to push past the ramp and hold their ultimate pieces to drop on Eminem. You cannot use your resources on anyone else.
Absolutely not, and it bit them hugely in the behind. Eminem stays safe. Even Hana's ultimate gets stiff-armed for the most part as they went up the ramp. And just such a beautiful swing. When Kurt wasn't stun-locked, he was able to do it. And now he's going to get himself some revenge, even into the charm. He still forces Nesty away. May not be able to push this in for the tower, but he doesn't need to right now. They can just keep it going. Everything's coming up, Frank, and this is massive for the playoff picture right now. If Frank win this, they get such a big edge in the fight for 6th place. And Deep Cross opened the floodgates with the loss here for not only J-Team to try and get that second, but even more teams, as here comes the revenge pickup. They try to find Pretender. Hana doesn't have the follow-up, and Eminem just sticks him full of feathers. The push fails, and Deep Cross are cowed.
Boy, that was another failed engage right here. They didn't have Seraphine's ultimate, and Leaky was too far away. He doesn't even, he does drop the equalizer, but to very little effect. The Wombo Combo team is falling apart, and at this point, both Kurt and Pretender can go into the side lanes. There is no answer from DCG.
Almost 30 minutes in, Frank are looking to close this out. They've got to be feeling oh so good about their postseason chances. K2 goes in. It's all a bait to try and delete Woody off the map, and they do it. Unfortunately, the Rocket gets revenge as they take down K2, but Frescata is going to have a lot of work ahead of him to try and save this. He's been set behind almost all this game in the 4v4. Here goes Pretender. Tags in to Holo. Flashes backing away. A little bit dangerous there. You have to get out. And now the charge comes in onto the Gnar, but he shoves Hana right back and away. That's going to be one and done on the inhibitors.
What a massive swing from Frank Esports. We're talking about them holding only 2,000 gold ahead 5 minutes back into the game, and now they're already over 10,000 gold ahead. That's just how big of a swing that was in a single team fight. And I really feel like DCG are running out of options to engage right here, because Frank had the option to just never fight a 5v5. They can just keep on pulling people around, the base is open, you're threatening your top lane inhibitor. The only way that Frank Esports could throw this game is if they group up in a Baron pit and get decimated by Equalizer.
No, we have seen that. Not against the Equalizer, but we have seen Frank throwing games, and at the Baron pit as well. So never say never, but right now it's looking very good for this new squad.
Definitely true here. I just say that because Frank, we have seen, unfortunately, a lot of the times, them in strong winning positions, and then they just walk into terrible team fights without a very clear picture of how they want to finish the fight. So that has been
the end of this is a challenge.
Yes, it's going to be really scary, and I'm not sure I like their current positioning right here, because they are opening themselves up to a lot of threat. There isn't an inhibitor mid, so DCG can choose not to respond to what's going on against Kurt here.
Okay, try to play him at distance. Holo doesn't want to go into this one. They do take down the tower, and they actually do want to engage it. They've landed a root into a charm onto the Alistair. Woody just takes some chip damage there, and he's going to lock it out.
Does lose his ultimate, though. That's huge.
That is big, actually. And now they go in for round 2. This time they find the Jinx, and that has got to open the floodgates here as Eminem with a legendary kill into a double. K2 might fall, but I think this might be curtains for Deep Cross Gaming. our second place squad, Leaky running for the hills, and there is nowhere for him to go. No flash, scrap shield, doesn't matter. Olo takes him down.
I'm sorry, Woody. That was just way too funny. Woody saves himself but throws the game as he exposes Cascada to a point-blank charm. He dies with both summoners up, and Frank just walked into the base without facing any resistance. Only the supports are left.
Nesty goes gold for a couple of seconds right now, and Kurt is going to knock him right back into his own Nexus. Even though Woody comes up, I think it's too late to save the game between him and Hana trying to keep this one going. It does look like Frank aren't going to end unless they have the opener. Cascada comes back off cooldown, and they're still going to make a fight of it right now if they can, but they've caught Woody once again into the wombo of the combo. As the last Nexus turret falls, Frank Esports have to be grinning from ear to ear as they look to take down Deep Cross, the first team they have ever defeated in the top of the table.
A beautiful match from Frank Esports, the best team fighting we have seen them play the entire split. And that was the question we were asking. Is Frank Esports just a run-of-the-mill, middle-of-the-table team that no one should pay attention to? Or do they have potential? Are they a dark horse? And I think we see a glimmer of hope, a spark there for Frank Esports. You can tell that they needed this win. Holo can't believe it. The best game K2 has played all split. Just hands down, massive support diff right there. I'm so happy for this team. I'm so happy for Frank Esports that they actually made their strong bot lane, their M&M workout. They actually showcased what K2 could do, that he deserves to take a spot sometimes over a Rebirth. And, you know, this just makes the playoff picture so much more spicy.
Ooh, it really does here, Clement. Frank Esports claiming a victory. And, you know, you talked about K2 having a great game. I think Kurt had a pretty great game, too. I mean, he was in a losing lane. He didn't let himself just get bodied. Sure, he lost out on some of that farm. And when it counted, those Gnar ultimates were big. So here's that painful final play.
Close your eyes, close your eyes.
Oh no, boy. Woody. The betrayal. Yeah, it was over at that point.
Yeah. Can we just say support diff? Support diff.
I think so. I think so. It was like.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, there were like 2 or 3 support bans thrown at Woody as well. This was calculated by Frank. They wanted to put him on a champion that they knew they'd be able to outplay. But yeah, huge kudos to the bot lane. I think overall Frank understood the win condition. And yeah, there were moments that they kind of gave a little bit away there. But overall, I mean, this was one of the better games from them that I think we've seen in the sense of macro and sense of individual execution on some of the weaker players. And this was another one of those games where Deep Cross got forced into playing things that may not have been optimal. Like, I feel like the Seraphine was okay.
Let's be honest.
Didn't do that much, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the main issue was still how badly they lost the bot lane. That definitely was a huge reason why the picture fell apart. If their bot lane stayed even, in my opinion, if they swapped earlier and actually allowed the game to just be split map instead of constantly trying to save their bottom lane, they would have been better off. They would have been able to keep farm onto the top side. Leaky, where they were still winning, Leaky could do fine in the weak lane. He has Equalizer, and he's also up by 30 CS. He can actually just wave clear with 2 abilities, so it would have been completely fine if they were willing to pull that off a little bit earlier, and then use the Herald. The Herald push was also a huge tempo waste, in my opinion. They lost the Herald on the first tower. It really diminished their chances to set up a full 5-man turret siege, and that's exactly what they wanted. If you're going down the mid lane, all the members of Frank Esports would have had to been in a defensive zone, a very, very small corridor, and you just unload with all your ammunition on them. That's the best scenario for for DCG. They don't manage to do that, and the team fight play was just kind of questionable. A lot of the times they just did not focus onto Eminem, and both times they lost coming into the Drake pit, I think they just prematurely blew all of their ultimates on non-essential members. They just wanted to kill K2.
We never saw the onslaught encore equalizer, right? Like, we were really looking for that, like, laid down layer over layer to get the kills, to get the zone, to just stack so much damage, and it just never really came out. And I think this was an unusual situation from Deep Cross, because normally we see them a little bit better coordinated than that. We see them Even when they aren't getting ahead early in the game, they always seem to have a decent comeback, with the exception of, maybe when Nestes gets set far behind. But here it was. I mean, Frank kept them at arm's length enough, and they found the fight when it counted. And it was them who had the better 5v5, Clement.
It definitely was. I want to give so much kudos to K2. The way he played these fights was absolutely beautiful. In the third Drake fight as well, he actually walked up the ramp, dodged most of the AoE ability, even though the entire team was aiming at him for some reason. I don't know why you aim at K2. And then he just throws the death charge, locks everyone down. Eminem comes in and just finishes off the fight. The choreography of this fight was just so beautiful. MVP, of course, has to go to Eminem for his damage-dealing abilities, but I want to say, again, I feel like this was the best game that we have seen from K2 the entire split.
Absolutely agreed, and it couldn't be happening at a better time for this team as they are looking to head into the playoffs, and this win does so much more for this team, not just a confidence booster and proof that they can tangle with the top teams, but also, in light of what happened earlier with MFT losing against CTBC Flying Oyster, this puts them a game up over that squad rather than tying. And if Impunity lose too, it starts to look a lot better for the side of Frank Esports to try and secure that number 6 seed. It is still within their grasp, Clement. It is very, very possible. And I'm liking what we're seeing towards the end of the split.
Yep. Remember, between those 3 teams, 2 of them have to start in the lower bracket. Only the 6th place team gets to get 1 round ahead. And so far, Frank are in the lead.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that was definitely a big surprise for us, and I'm happy to see it, but we are going on cooldown. When we come back, we will see Beyond Gaming taking on Sem 9.